Um, if you guys will now turn to, I'm going to go back here so we can do this together. There's a little activity in here. For each of the activities listed below, it says put a P if this helps a child physically, or a C if it's cognitively, if it helps them socially, and if it helps them emotionally. So puzzles, what do you think? Does it help them? How of those ways? Physically, cognitively, socially, or emotionally? I would say I'd put a P and I'd put a C because it helps them physically picking the pieces up, and it helps them cognitively because they have to think about it. Counting frames like an abacus. Definitely physical because they're using that small pincher grasp, and cognitively because they are counting. Painting, I would definitely say, is an emotional thing, and it also helps physical, why they help move their arm. Tricycles and or wagons, definitely physical, and social, especially if it's a wagon, right? Because nobody has fun with just a wagon by themselves. So it's probably social if there's somebody else involved. And definitely cognitive, learning uphill and downhill. We used to live on a hill, and my kids loved to ride their bikes down the hill, or take a wagon or something on wheels down the hill. But very soon they learned that if they go down the hill, they have to go back up the hill. And so that's just cognitive development. Books, reading books definitely helps cognitive, definitely helps emotionally. I would even say socially, especially if they're being read to and reading together. And I would even say physical to some degree, being able to pick up the book and turn those pages. Acting out stories like charades or something like that. I would say it's all of them: social, emotional, cognitive, and physical, because you have to move around. Matching picture cards, so the matching game, I would definitely say it's cognitive because it's going to help with that memory and recall. Physical, turning them over. And socially, learning to take turns. And then I would say emotionally as well. And I don't even have that one written down, but definitely emotionally. Playing in a hut or making some kind of a special place, like playing house or something. I would say social. I would also say emotional and cognitive. Boy, I wish we were doing this together. I miss you guys so much. Outdoor equipment. Physical for sure, social, and emotional. You could even, some of it definitely learning how, could be cognitive as well. So you guys can see just in simple little things that I have listed on the study guide, how much in every area of development these things can help children. And so hopefully this starts to give you an idea. Yeah, play is super, super important. All right, so this next one, it talks about what active play is. And this is when children are involved, just like it says right on the slide, interacting and creating. They're actually actively doing something and involved with someone or something, or maybe even both. And active play is something we want to see kids involved in often. Number 4, what is passive play? As you can see right here, like watching TV. It's non-interactive. And there's nothing wrong with TV a little bit sometimes, but long periods of time are not healthy and not good for a child because they're passively doing things instead of actively. All right, the next one, structured play, is exactly what it says. It's structured. Basically, an older person, structures the play, and it's directed by an adult. An adult is involved during the time of play, and helps to regulate everything. And the structured play is an important part of early childhood education programs, as well as things that you're going to do at home. But children definitely need what the next one is called, number 6. They need plenty of self-selected play. You can see self-selected. They chose to do it. So the child directs the activity and plays whatever and whenever and whomever they desire, and they get to choose. And so this is another important part of good early childhood programs, preschool programs. And things that you want to think about home. We need structured time. Remember when we got to watch that one episode of Super Nanny? She had some structured time, but then they also had some time that was not. It was self-selected. Both are extremely important for children. Okay, another type of play is dramatic play, and this is exactly what you see in this picture. It's make-believe, it's make-up, and it's dramatic. If we were in class, I'd show you some dramatic play boxes that we have, and they're a super fun thing to do. You might want to think about doing this for your toy or game activity. It can be in any type of box or container, but getting a container or box that has props in it, that has things that the child could use to dress up and play in dramatic or make-believe play. For example, we have a box that is for a police officer. And so we have fun little things. They have a hat and little jacket and the star symbol, that says that they're a cop, a sheriff. We have other boxes that are even just for gardening, and we have all sorts of gardening things in it. We have ones for health occupation, so there's doctor and nurse outfits and stethoscopes and all sorts of things. We have a mailbox one, and on and on. So that's kind of a fun thing to do and to have. I hope all of you got the chance when you were younger, even just to have, play dress up. We had a big dress up drawer at our preschool where we had, they could use it any time, and it had high heels and beads and a suit coat and dress and all sorts of fun things for kids to play with. But dramatic play definitely helps kids. A couple of things I want you to write down. It helps them use their imagination. It helps them to act out and deal with real life situations. And it helps them to problem solve and to release some emotion. And also, a really important thing, to be in control. So those are all things that dramatic play helps a child do. All right, skill mastery play is exactly what it says. When a child wants to master a skill, they repeat it and do it over and over again, like learning how to pump on a swing. If you remember when you learned how to do that, then all you wanted to do was pump on the swing. Or if you learned how to ride a two-wheel bike, all you wanted to do was go get out on your two-wheeler and ride that bike. If you learned how to skate or skateboard, it just became an important thing for you. And in the process, even when they can't do it, they still want to go do it. So they're just mastering a skill, and they repeat it over and over again, and it's extremely enjoyable if you remember those times and how fun that was. All right, another one is our sensory motor play, which is also a really important part of a child's growing and developing, is that they get the opportunity to use their senses and their motor skills. You can see this little girl right here is playing with what we call oobleck, which is a mix of water and cornstarch, and we usually put some food coloring in it. But it's amazing to watch kids play with it. It's fun to just play with even at our age, and if we were in school, I'd make a little bit for you. Let me give you a recipe for it real quick. 1 cup of cornstarch and a half a cup of water. And maybe this might be something fun for your family while you guys are stuck at home to make some oobleck and to play with it and interact with it. Put a little bit of food coloring in it. You can double the recipe or half the recipe. One more time, 1 cup of cornstarch and a half a cup of water. All right. But it helps us to use our senses. Okay, number 8, rough and tumble play. It's like wrestling, and there really is nothing funner than rough and tumble play, especially right now. I think it's something that we all could, probably be missing, is that human contact. So if you've ever wrestled with your dad or your uncle or a big brother or mom, sister, whatever, or friends your own age, like you see in this picture, it's a fun thing to do. I know as moms we always sit back and say it's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt. And the difference between fighting and rough and tumble play is the sound that you hear. It's happy when it's rough and tumble play, it's angry, and it's intense when it's not. So those are some signs that you kind of want to watch for if it's real fighting or if it's just rough and tumble play. And usually stop it before it does get out of hand. All right. Number 9, here are some rules for all types of play. People are not for hurting. That's just a really important thing that kids recognize, and that's just a rule that we have. You don't hurt other people, and you don't hurt things. You don't hurt toys. The next one is that conflicts are resolved by talking, and we don't yell and scream or hit. About what we talk about things. And then the last one is that everything must be cleaned up and returned to its proper place. I know, in fact, I just ran into this mom the other day. My oldest son, Landon, had a friend, and his name was Skylar, and he just lived around the corner. And I remember that every time she would call to have him come home, she would say, hi, would you please have Skylar help clean up and then send him home? And as a mom, I always really, really appreciated that even when she called to say, hey, come home, that, hey, help him clean up, because he's been there and probably made it somewhat of a mess, and have him help clean up those toys and then send him home. But an important thing for all of us to learn, it kind of goes along with that. All I needed to know, I learned in kindergarten, that if we all learned to put things back where they belonged, we'd have a much better world. All right. The last thing that I'm going to talk to you about, I don't think it's on your study guide here, but you guys definitely need to write this down. Transitions are a really important thing. We talked about them earlier, but warning, giving kids a cleanup time, even if they can't tell time, and even if it's not really 5 minutes, no big deal. But just, hey, we're going to need to clean up in 2 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever you want to say. And that helps them recognize that it's time to clean up and it's getting time to go. All right. The last thing I'm going to have you guys do is let me get out of this. You are supposed to do, let me go to it right here. You are supposed to do this play lab, and it's the very last page. No, I didn't mean to go to that. Sorry, guys. I meant to go to this. You're at the very end of this study guide. You have this, wow, this was a long study guide, wasn't it? Play lab right here. So we just finished this. Yours is blue. But what I want you to do is to come up with 5 different games. We typically would have done this in a whole day in class. I'll tell you what I have you do, and you can write them down. If you have them, you can play these. But Trouble. Lots of families have that book around, that game called Trouble. Another one that I usually have you do is play checkers. I actually have a big floor game of it, which is kind of an added aspect to it, have a big floor game. But if you've got a game of checkers at home, or you could even just make one up and use pennies and draw it out on a piece of paper. Matching cards, so is another thing that we play with. I also haven't played Don't Eat Pete. I don't know if you've ever played Don't Eat Pete before, but that's one I have kids play. And then Twister. But you could play anything. 5 different, you notice that these aren't any wowie type of games or activities. They're just simple. You could even do Red Rover. I don't care what you do. Ring Around the Rosies. But I want you to think of these games. I would love you to play this with your family and get some interaction and, do some fun stuff while you're at home. But if you can't and just want to think about them, that's fine. So list the game or the toy here, any that you can think of. And then I want you to write the appropriate age level that you think it's for. Um, and that's just gonna, I'm not gonna do right or wrong. And then I want you to do the concepts or skills that they could gain. What are things that they're gonna learn? You don't have to write out big long sentences. You can just do it as a simple, simple, simple little list, and you'll be amazed at how many things that they can learn. Now, this is not just physical or cognitive or social or emotional. That's not what I want you to write down. I want you to be specific. Like on Twister, you would say that a concept or skill that is gained or experienced while they're playing this game is they're knowing colors. Also knowing left and right, body parts and your left and your right side, listening, also physical stretching and whatnot. Okay. And there's probably some others, but those are some skills that could be gained there. And then I want you to think very deeply. I want no blanks left, right here, no blanks under safety consideration. I want you to write whatever safety considerations you can think of, even if it is on matching cards that they don't get a paper cut. So come up with some safety considerations, things that you, again, consider, some things to think about that you might want to be careful with. Okay, I'm going to give you a little extra time to get this play lab all finished, and then we're going to turn in this whole packet. I'm going to give you guys some information again about Scannable. I've had some kids really struggle being able in all my classes to turn in their packets. And finally, when they finally got Scannable, it was a piece of cake. So if you haven't got the app Scannable or something like it, I promise it's going to be so much easier for you to turn in your packet, because you're gonna have to take pictures and send them, and it's so much easier for me to grade if they're all in one instead of me having to open each picture. So Scannable, a free app, and you really, really ought to get it. I'm begging you to get it. It will be very, very helpful. Anyway, I'm going to give you some time to complete this, and I'm going to tell you also, I know that we have all this this prenatal development that we have not done yet. I am hoping with all hope that we come back to school and I will teach this to you, in person. You all have your parents sign that pink paper, and we'll do all this section in person. So for right now, we're going to skip it, but do not get rid of this blue packet, because we will be coming back to this for sure. This is part of what we have to talk about and do in class. And there's quite a few little videos and whatnot. This is going to take a very, very long time to go through quite a few videos. So hope you guys are doing great. Going to give you a little extra time to get this all done, and I'll write that in your daily modules. But get that play lab and that play stuff done that we just talked about. You guys are awesome. Have a great day.